check this out. Check this out. We will try to yoga. That's what's going to happen. Little happy hips, a little bit of this and that. Yes. Okay, perfect. And then I'm going to record this over here too, just to see how that goes. Perfect. Well, hello and welcome to Real Person Yoga, a nice class this morning based on the hips and finding some movement where I, as a real person full of sound problems and at-home studios with roommates and noises and non-perfect things, welcomes you who has probably non-perfect things to do a little yoga without that expectation and that everything around you or within you be perfect, so that you can just be honest, be where you're at, and give yourself some permission to move, to feel it out, whether that be physically or even mentally. Just feel it out and see how it is. Just bring in some straight up yoga to the world. So today, great class for beginners, great class for, if you have more yoga practice or experience, just get a little deeper, nice little stretch. You can have the choice to sweat. You can have the choice to not sweat. Probably won't be a super drippy class. They never really are. But yeah, just those options to build it up, I think are really important. And it's something I really value, because that's something I appreciated. Although my ego still sometimes gets in the way and I like to go for the gusto, but at least there's the option, and at least I now know that if I want to take it easy, this is what it looks like, and I can just do it. So there we go. There's that. All right, I'm going to pull my phone away from the computer because sometimes that makes little staticky noises too. And let's get into the yoga position. You can start seated on your mat or laying down, just in a comfortable position that you can get started in. I'm going to grab my coffee, make my way over here to my mat in a nice nature background, a little waterfall. I think that's actually super fun for me to kind of create this space. So if you want in on the yoga, I record 4 classes a week, and you can join in via Zoom. That's so much fun, and it's super great, and has the best sound quality apparently. Or you can get the recorded link afterwards, because I record the classes and then upload them to YouTube and then email them out or upload them onto Patreon, which is a really also cool way for me to get a little kickback, or to be able to do this as a little bit more of a job. It's my passion. It's what I want to be one of my careers. I love to help people. And this is how I'm choosing to do it, is through a little bit of fitness, a little bit of mental health, which is all wrapped up in the shell of some yoga. So without further ado, if you want to check out my Patreon page, actually, I'm going to plug that a little harder. Patreon.com/realpersonyoga. It's also on my, if you go to Facebook and Real Person Yoga, there's a link for it there. If you don't remember what the heck Patreon is, or you can just type it into Google, and Real Person Yoga is what it's all about. So you can search it in there, and then my page comes up, and it's a beautiful time. So there's even like a $7 a month option, just to throw me a little extra. I still have some free videos on Facebook as well as on YouTube. If you need a quick fix, or if you want to try out a class, that's a really good way to kind of see what you're getting into. But you're here now, so let's do this one and carry on with that. So grab a sip of coffee or water or whatever you got going on. Maybe you're drinking tea this morning, and let's get started for a little bit of yoga. So let's start with the breath. Let's let everything else fade away. Maybe close your eyes even, and take a nice big inhale. Take a big full exhale. Take a few more of those. Really start to lengthen the breath. Maybe work on breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Feeling that cycle of air moving around the body. In through the nose, the back of the throat, and down into the lungs, into every little crevice in the lungs, maybe even down into the diaphragm, that abdomen area. And as you exhale, it all presses back out. Maybe you start your exhale from the top and work your way down, or from the bottom and work your way back up. Just feel that breath move out. Maybe you feel the heat of that exhale pressing out of the lips. And you just feel that little bit of softness start to ease and float away. Roll those shoulders back and down. Relax those shoulders. And relax the jaw. Connect in with the breath. And start to notice how the body feels. Maybe you just notice into some of the nooks and crannies, some of the joints, the muscles. Noticing the neck and the shoulders, and starting to notice the hips. We're going to be working in that area. How does the low back feel? How does those hip joints feel, getting into those hip sockets, tops of the legs? How do the legs feel? And the hip just isn't that pelvis bone. There's over 30 muscles that are included and connect in and around the hips. There's that lower vertebrae that plays a part in, and then all of just those abdominal muscles, low back muscles, and into the legs, those quads and hamstrings and IT band and fascial lines that run through the sides and connectors. Lots happens in there. So just checking in. And if it feels tight and sore, that's okay. That's allowed. And just simply becoming aware of it. Maybe it feels a little more open, a little bit more ready for movement, and that's good too. Just practicing a little bit of non-judgment in there too. Excellent. Maybe now you set an intention. Just a little word or phrase. Maybe it's an encouragement or a goal or a motivation. And seal it in. Let's take a nice big breath, really breathing deep into that diaphragm area. Take a huge inhale. Take a nice big exhale, side out, make some noise with your exhale. And start to find some movement, some little wiggles, maybe through the fingers, getting into those extremities. Maybe start to move through the wrists or even the elbows. Maybe start to get into the toes, the ankles. And if you're in a seated position, let's roll things back and down. That's what I always say. Lying down on the mat. I like to start with my knees bent, feet planted. That's a great alternative. Really gentle. And I always usually get a couple cracks out of my spine as I first lay down. You can extend the legs long. It's another option. And we'll take that nice good morning stretch. So once you feel settled with your spine, let's take a big inhale and sweep those arms up overhead. Take a big breath in as you reach so nice and tall. This is a great way to get a yawn out. Oh yeah, that happened. Yawns are a way to stretch the jaw. So it could not just be that you're tired, it could just be that your jaw needs a good stretch. As well as those arms and shoulders and rib cage area. I take an exhale. Just let the arms hang heavy overhead. Super good. So my dog Callie, I thought she was taking off, but she's just relocating. Take one more good morning stretch, nice big reach. Feeling good here. Maybe you extend the legs, point through the toes. Feel that low back really lift up off the ground. That natural curve comes into play as you get so long here. Feel the vertebrae, those spine bones lengthening, a nice little bit of traction. Take an exhale, soften, start to sweep those hands back down alongside the body. Maybe you just plant the feet down. Maybe you hug the knees in towards the chest. Taking that little rock from side to side. So I always start out with one of these good morning stretches. And then hugging the knees in, because this is the best way to start to wake up those fascial lines, that connective tissue throughout the body that can sometimes feel a little fuzzy in the morning, and a stretch kind of starts to get into that, as well as that natural traction that happens when you lengthen into the body, wakes up into the spine and all those joints, gets into the shoulders. And then as you hug the knees in, you actually press that low back down. So feel how that low back presses in. So it starts to really get into some of that movement and this little rock back and forth. Oh, it's just a nice little massage for that low back, or maybe notice that through the shoulders. Feels so good. Let's start to work in that hip joint a little bit more. So find your stillness, take a little moment, take a little tuck of the chin. We often start to roll towards the top of the head or the crown of the head to try to stabilize, which I'd rather you press to the shoulders or press to the low back. To do so and take a tuck of the chin, we often scoop and kind of sludge through the neck area lots throughout the day, and this kind of helps counter that. Let's hold on to the knees and start to draw some circles here. So you can draw just tiny little circles that'll get more into those smaller little connective tissues, those little fibers. Still a great way to find some movement, or you can let your circles become larger and larger, getting more into that full range of motion, starting to notice the bones. Maybe you could even trace that little pelvic insert, that femoral head. Think of it as like a fist, and then you've got like your hand over the fist to think that how the hip connects. But there's actually never like bone on bone, unless you have like arthritis. There's fluid in there, and that helps there be a little bit of padding between there. And so this starts to warm up some of that synovial fluid. Make sure, just like you're starting the core in the middle of winter, make sure it's all going good. Let's switch directions of those knees, get in the opposite way. You might even feel those tendons and start to create a little bit of warmth through those outer edges of the hips. That depends on how much you're using your legs here. So you can really just relax the legs and make the arms do majority of the work. Or you can basically just have your hands be guiding the knees, or even take your hands out of the equation and maybe try a few that way. And then you'll really start to notice those muscles involved in this movement. Maybe try just a few little circles. You'll notice your lower abdominals, your low back, and then you'll notice those muscles through the hips. Beautiful. Let's come to stillness. Feels good and warmed up. Let's bring the hands just behind the knees and work on lengthening the feet up towards the ceiling. So maybe you just have a huge bend to the knees, and then it's just your toes pointing up to the ceiling. That's great. Work with your hamstrings as long as you're feeling something through hamstring. That's what we're going for. This can look different for everyone. So it can be a deep bend to the knees, or it can be full on lengthened with a flex to the feet, adding in a little bit more. Your ankles can be right over the hips, or if you're here and still not feeling anything, then you can bend the elbows and pull the feet a little bit more overhead. That'll really accentuate into the glute, into that hamstring area. So just wherever you're at today, give that a feel and just start to wake up into those hamstrings. Starting to feel that. Maybe even give those hamstrings a little rub, a little massage, maybe even a little pat, help get that blood flow coming into that area. Massage is great for that. Oh, that got my dog's attention. We're making noise. Good stuff. Maybe come into the knees, give the knees a little bit of love. Beautiful. Notice how you're starting to roll onto the top of the head here. Check into that stabilizing that I was talking about. Try to tuck that chin back in. And let's wake up the ankles. Let's take just a few little ankle circles just while we're here, holding the pose. And lets you get deeper into the muscles, starts to get more into that connective tissue as well. So as you're working on the hamstrings, you will distract the body by getting into ankles. Do those circles the other way, or maybe try figure eights with the ankles if you want something other than circles. Beautiful. Find some stillness, and then with wherever you're at. So even if you have bent knees here, you can still be working on this movement, and try to just keep thinking about bringing the feet up as much as you can, finding that length. And we're just going to start to imagine walking on the ceiling. So take a little moment and just start to shuffle the feet forward and back. You can still have your hands on your legs. That's a really gentle way to get into it. But the more you start to release your hands, the more you're going to be using those muscles in and around the hips, and as well as into that low back and into the core. And so just really kind of subtle, working some of those deeper muscles through there, which is really kind of really strong and important to do. So you can do this with the bent knees, or if you've got the straight legs, just a little shuffle, moving through, keep trying to lengthen through the legs, and notice how you're stabilizing. Keep pressing that low back in towards the ground. And if you're puffing the belly button or the abdomen out to try to stabilize, take a moment, hit the reset, maybe hold back onto the legs, draw everything up and in. Get really strong, and then come back to it. Trying to draw all of those muscles inwards is what will actually work deeper into some of those deep core muscles. So a better option for stabilizing. I also like to tuck my hands underneath my hips, and that also just helps make this easier. All right, let's make those movements bigger now. So with wherever you're at, start to really take big, giant steps. Moving through, maybe you're thinking about cross-country skiing, or if you've had enough of the snow, maybe you're running down the beach, ready to jump into the ocean. Biggest steps that you can take. So even with bent knees, you're still just tapping the heel out, finding those nice big motions. Or if you've got the legs lifted, you're just really dropping the foot as low down as you can with control to raise it back up. Excellent. Let's keep going for 5 and 4. 3. Remember to breathe. And last one here. So good. And plant those feet back down. Take a little windshield wiper, dropping the knees from side to side. You can untuck the hands to let those hips kind of roll a little bit more. One way to the next. So good. Nice way to feel a little bit of warmth into those hips. You've got to strengthen those muscles and those tendons, as well as stretch them. So if we just stretch them, that really wouldn't do you all the good it possibly can. You got to warm up the body, work on that strength there so that they can do the things that they need to. Beautiful. All right, let's come to some stillness here. I love a good windshield wiper first thing after a bit of a warm up. Feels so good. All right, let's take that inhale, sweep those arms up overhead. Just take a nice big stretch here. Exhale, interlace the fingers. Tuck the hands under the head, coming into boss arms, but a nice reclined position. So let those elbows really try to open up as much as possible, getting as much as the arms down as you can with those shoulders being relaxed. So just relax through that upper body. Let this feel good. Nice little head support. Maybe you've got your thumbs right on the neck there. Maybe give yourself just a little massage. You know, those thumbs into the neck. Feels so good there. And then let's bring the soles of the feet together. So walk those feet in and those knees in nice and close. And then let the knees fall open. Soles of the feet come to touch. You might have lots of space between your knees and the ground, and that is a-okay. Maybe the knees come down a little more. You can kind of wiggle through the hips or even wiggle through the feet, finding that sweet spot that works really good there. And this starts to get into the inner thighs and some external rotation of the hips. And see if you can soften and relax. Beautiful. We're not going to hold this pose just like this. We're going to add some movements into it. And so let those legs feel really good. Let those shoulders relax. And then what we're going to do here, so if you notice, also that low back started to lift up off the ground. That's really natural when we start to get that rotation in of the hips in this cobbler pose or butterfly pose. But see if you can kind of tuck that tailbone back under and press that low back down. And see if you can start to press that outer edge of the feet down. So you're activating into this, almost like you could float the hips up off the ground, but just in a totally different way. Keep those hips planted down on the ground, but just feel that activation through the legs. Beautiful. Connect with the breath here. Take an inhale. See if you can get any taller or draw those ears a little farther away from the shoulders. And as you exhale, get strong through the core. So really kind of clench into the core like you're bracing to take a punch, or like you would in like a karate class, like that quick little exhale. Excellent, and feel that strength. So I'm pressing not only my feet down into the ground, but I'm also pressing the soles of my feet together. So I'm activating into all of those muscles and creating tension. That's actually what's happening. So you're welcome to just stay there, or if you want, you can start to lift the head up off the ground, or maybe even the shoulders up off the ground, and the elbows can come forward, or they can stay open. And maybe you really do think about this as a little butterfly and taking a couple little side crunches, trying to imagine crunching or bringing an elbow over towards one knee, feeling that openness to the other side of the body. Hold here, let that stretch actually happen, and then come back to center. And then bring the other elbow towards the other knee. So keep trying to keep those legs as engaged as possible. We're getting into the core as well. Come on back through center. So you can do these super slow. You can even do these with the head down and kind of do it with like lots of wiggling. Might find if you can just float the head up for a little bit. Wiggle over towards one side. Okay, now let's think about that top elbow. See if you can reach that top elbow up a little more. Beautiful. See if you can imagine drawing that elbow down towards the knee, really squeezing through that core. Beautiful. Back through center, remembering to bring over towards that other side. Imagine lifting up through that top elbow. Oh, so good. Feel that through the underarm. Really try to bring that bottom elbow down. So good. Back to center. One more, either side here. Taking a nice squeeze in. So good. Back to center and over towards the other side. Excellent. Back to center. Lower the head down. Beautiful. Release those arms. Take a nice big stretch either overhead or out wide like a T. That could feel really good. Scoop those arms down, and then with helping hands, just hold the outside of the knees. Yes, I could just use the strength of my legs, but I want my hands to help so that my legs can come on back up and feel nice and supported. Plant those feet down, walk the feet wider, and then take your windshield wiper, dropping the knees slowly from side to side. Really be gentle in the body here as we release through that. Oh, my dog has brought us a little gift. This is her alligator toy. Okay, you gotta move though, you're in the way. Really kind of release that through the hips. So with the feet wide here, you're getting internal rotation and external rotation. So make sure you're really savoring that internal rotation. Thank you for the gift of your toy. I'm so glad you're bringing friends to yoga class. That's so helpful. If you want to be like Callie, bring a friend to yoga class, go ahead and do so. You can send them an invite. Let me know. I can send them the Zoom link. They can get their first class for free. All right, let's come on back to stillness. Plant those feet down. And either roll on up using that core strength to come up to seated, or roll onto your side and press yourself up. I'm not going to be picky here. If you want to take your easy, go right ahead. We work that core. Come on up. Oh, you're such a snuggle butt today. That's so nice. Callie used to be so camera shy. She used to always just stay outside of the camera for literally a year. But now, as you can tell, she's all in it. Because I'm a real person and I'm just a dog suck, and I love my dog too much to kick her out of the room while we do yoga. I also really kind of can't. So there's that. All right, so in that nice seated position, let it be comfortable for you. If it's more comfortable to extend the legs, go ahead and do that. I find it much more comfortable to have cross-legged. It's not more yoga to do one or the other. It's more yoga to listen to your body and do what you need to. So get into that seated position. We'll take an inhale and let's start to reach it up nice and tall. Nice big inhale, reach it up. And take an exhale, draw the hands down to that heart center. Let's accentuate this motion. So as you inhale, start to look up towards the ceiling or as much as you can, really reaching up, feel that nice bend through the back. And as you exhale, start to bow down, take a nice tuck of the chin, maybe even round into this, really letting the motion be like a forward fold. Make that inhale and reach it up. Exhale down. One more, so good. Reach that up. Exhale. Beautiful. And come on back up towards a comfortable neutral seat. Take an inhale, get as tall as you can. Take an exhale, roll those shoulders back and down. Just feel into the collarbone, check in with how that feels. So good. Wanting to really try to work on creating openness through that collarbone. Tiny little squeeze through the shoulder blades just to feel that a little bit more, and then soften. All right, let's make our way into our all fours position, that nice tabletop position. So working your way into this, you can pad up under the knees. If you need a towel or a blanket, it works really great in order to do so. Excellent. Pad up under the wrists if you've got sore wrists, maybe that works good for you too. And just start to have a little sway, start to press your hips out towards one side and the next. You can go super slow. I've really been loving these lately, and it helps get into that sideline of the hips. Maybe you feel that through the IT band as you really press those hips out so nice and strong. Switch it to the other side. Oh, wanting to keep working, keep finding just a touch of strength as you find some movement here. Coming back to that nice tabletop. Beautiful. I'm going to just flip so that I can show you where we're going here. So in your tabletop position, let's send that left foot back. Plant that foot down onto the ground. Take a little rock back and forth. Leg is nice and long. Beautiful. And then start to slide or hover and bring that foot off towards the side. So extending the leg nice and long to make sure that you can feel nice and supported. And then walk your hands up. So getting ready to come on up. So I've got the one knee bent. You can have those toes tucked or untucked, however you feel more stable on this. And really try to press that outer edge of the foot down. So I don't know if you can quite see it, but lots of times I see this and it's just that big toe of the edge is all that you've got to stabilize. See if you can press that foot all the way down and activate into that outer line of the leg. And imagine drawing that inner thigh up and in. So really strong through the legs here, pressing in with intention. Feel that activation and that strength. Beautiful. Let's reach those arms out, coming nice and tall, like your T, or we'll get into that teeter-totter movement. Feel the hips and just imagine walking that low body in. So as we move here, I'm just trying to move the torso. So I'm not trying to kick the hips from side to side. I'm just trying to stay nice and strong through the body here. Excellent. And start to tip over towards that one side. Feel this core be strong. And come on back up. Take the other side. Beautiful. And come on back up. You see if you can come to this first side here. See if you can go a little deeper, reaching that top arm up. Maybe coming down a little lower. My hand's not touching the ground yet. Feeling the core be strong. Come on back up. Even one more to the other side. I'm not quite touching down onto the leg, but I'm trying to imagine reaching down for the heel, reaching up for the ceiling. There's so much openness through that rib cage. Come on back. All right, let's plant that hand down. Maybe use a block. Maybe quickly grab a pot and flip it upside down and use that as a block. That hand can hang out on the hips. Reach up for the ceiling, or try reaching it overhead. See what that feels like, just to really reach nice and long. Keep pressing into that outer line of the foot. Keep that nice and active. Can you feel that little stretch that's maybe happening right in along the hip, or maybe into that low back area? Beautiful way to get a nice stretch in there. Excellent option to hang out here, or maybe you start to engage through that foot and that hip and float the foot up off the ground. It can just come an inch up off the ground, or you can really kind of kick it long, take a nice flex to the foot and reach. As you do so, you're getting more into that standing leg. So now that hip and that glute, or those glutes are working harder. Beautiful. Let's take 3 little crunches here, elbow to knee. So even if you have the foot down, you can just bend the knee a little bit and then lengthen the leg, or you can go for the gusto, keep that foot hovering, elbow to knee. They don't have to come to touch, just moving in that direction. Excellent. One more here. So good. Reach it out so nice and long. Plant that foot back down if it was raised. Reach that hand back up, and then use the core, use the legs nice and strong here, pressing to that bottom half. Hop back up. Excellent. Great job on that gate pose. Let's take one nice stretch to that other direction. So now planting that right hand or that left hand, sorry, down onto either the hip, the leg, down the leg, and can reach up or can even reach overhead. If you're starting to bend awkwardly through that knee, just keep lengthening. You don't want to twist the knee here. So it's all about the side body. It's not about reaching down for the ground. All right, come on back up. Take a nice big stretch. Stretch both arms up overhead. And then take an exhale. Release the hands. Crawl on back down. And hug that left knee in. Take a nice sway from side to side, or maybe take a little child's pose. To feel into that, to release that. How does that feel in the low back? You know, beautiful. All right, let's come on back to that tabletop. Letting those hands down, coming into that other side. So now that right knee or right leg presses back, touch those toes down. Get a nice little rock forward and back. Just a really great way to wake up through the ankle, the calf. Just feels so nice. Then maybe you hover the foot up and try to squeeze that foot all the way over, planting it down. So good. Engaging into those muscles nice and strong, getting into that outer foot, walking those hands up and coming up onto the body. Feeling everything plant on down. Maybe you put your hands on your hips and take a little wiggle through the hips just to feel where that feels like, and then try to find movement of the shoulders without the hips moving. Press into that outer foot and draw that inner thigh up. Notice how as you try to like pull that inner thigh up, you actually tuck the pelvis under, engaging through the low back. So total win for me on those areas here. Let's reach those arms out nice and long, connecting in with that breath. So good. All right, let's teeter totter here, going away from the body here. Just using those shoulders, try to keep the hips exactly as they are. And come on back up. Over the leg this time. Oh, so good. Stay strong through those legs. Beautiful. Float on back up. Maybe this time you go a little deeper. Imagining maybe tickling the ground or just having a hand just barely touch down. Still hovering though. Use that core. Pull yourself right on back up. So beautiful. So good. Over towards the other side. Almost like you're touching the leg, but just keep it at a hover. Maybe reach that top arm up a little bit more. Come on back up. So good. That looks great, guys. And now plant that hand down onto the ground or onto your block. Right hand can hang out on the hips. So good. Still pressing into the legs, so stay active here. Pressing in nice and strong. Maybe that right hand reaches up or reaches overhead, starting to feel into that nice stretch through that hip area. Beautiful. Maybe feel it through the shoulder. I'm trying to target into this area, but if you feel it somewhere else, that is a-okay. Like there's no right or wrong answer. I know that's really frustrating to hear, but it's actually very true because bodies are different, and maybe you slept weird on your shoulder or you didn't get a good night's sleep and you're just feeling it in different areas of the body. That's okay because everyone holds their tension a little different. So keep reaching. See if you can draw those ears a little farther from the neck. So good. And if you're ready for some more, let's think about floating that foot up off the ground. Take a flex to the foot here. Excellent. And we'll take our 3 crunches, elbow towards knee. Take a big exhale, take an inhale, reach it out long. Try to keep that foot hovering if you've got it. Feel into that standing leg. Elbow to knee. Reach it out. And one more, elbow to knee. Beautiful. Come on, long, plant that foot on, back down. Excellent. Reach that hand on back up. Strong through the legs here. Press into that bottom hand. Float the body back up. Take a nice big stretch. Reach it up. Take that exhale. Make your way back down. Bend the knee. Bring the knee in. And either take your sway from side to side. Maybe take a little child's pose. You can bring your knees together for a nice child's pose for the low back where the knees apart. Getting more into the hips. Feeling what you need. So good. And take a big breath in. And a big breath out. Let the body soften and relax. Notice, are you clenching the jaw? And take a moment to actually relax the neck, the jaw, the muscles in the face, the forehead, the eyebrows. Beautiful. And then start to press on back up. Excellent. We'll spin things around and make our way onto our backs. Continue now to stretch out the hips and get deeper into letting things relax in the hips, releasing tension in that area. Now that we worked it, sometimes you got to create tension to release tension. Same idea as if you are anxious, your heart rate can go up, and if that's how your anxiety is expressing itself, sometimes the best way to break that is actually by doing like something to get your heart rate up. So a couple of jumping jacks and push-ups, some kind of physical activity, and then your heart rate can come back down naturally from the exercise, and that should help alleviate that response to anxiety. So the same thing with other areas of our body. If you're holding on to a lot of tension, sometimes you need to work that area to be able to let it relax a little bit deeper. So I've got my knees bent, my feet planted. And let's start to get a little deeper into those hips. So I'm going to cross my right ankle over top of my right knee, or my left knee or thigh, coming into that nice figure four. Great way to really kind of stretch into the hips. I really like this, even just taking an extra moment here. Lots of times I see this and then you lift the left leg and hug it in. But let's take a moment and savor even this step. So I've just got my legs crossed, my left foot is still planted down, and press that right knee open. Imagine trying to check something out on the bottom of your foot, being able to see the sole of your foot, really pressing open, feeling that into the hip, feel that nice stretch. And see if you can relax. So still have my knee pressing open to the best of my abilities. And now I'm going to soften. Just bringing that knee a little bit more back towards neutral, not staring at the bottom of my foot anymore. Excellent. Maybe you take even a little half windshield wiper, just find a little movement, a little rock from side to side, feel into the hips here. As we start to float the left leg up, we often lean more towards one side than the next, so we'll just give that low back a little moment to feel connected down, and then see if you can kind of balance out between the left side and the right side of the body. And once you have that, and then maybe you think about floating that left leg up. Great opportunity to keep this really relaxing, restorative is to use a block. You can just tuck a block in under that left foot. Maybe that's as high as you go. Have a stool or a chair works really well too, just to plant the foot on the stool or the chair. The more that you draw those legs up and in towards the body, the more you'll start to feel on that right hip. So I like to hold the tops of my knees if you don't have a chair handy. Try to relax those arms and shoulders and coming into that nice figure four. You don't want to hold the tops of the knees. Maybe you reach your hand through the little hole that's created there and lace the fingers together, holding the back of that left thigh. And then feel free to find some movement here. Find where your sweet spot's at today. And this is a thing I do lots in my hips classes. This pose is so great for getting into the hips, into the glutes, a little bit into that low back area. And if you always do it the exact same way, you're always working on the same strands through the muscles. That's why I like to encourage doing the same thing, but slightly different. Just keeps it fresh for you, for your body. Lets your body talk to you a little bit more. Beautiful. If you find a sweet spot, feel free to hold it and work with it. I feel like I want to add a little bit of movement in that isn't the rock from side to side. Another thing I love to do is more of that pulse motion. And so keeping that nice tuck of the chin instead of a side to side, I'm going to take a forward and back approach. And so just finding that edge, finding that uncomfortable area, but it's not quite painful, and the kind of end range where I'm definitely aware of that right hip. And just releasing that tension and creating that tension. Or if you want to just take some stillness, that's an option too. See if you can connect in with the breath. Send the breath into that right hip. Imagine breathing into that hip the best of your ability, almost like you had a little lung in there. Big breath in. Big breath out. And nice and slowly. And see if you can start to release this. Just letting go of the leg just as gently as possible. Letting that left foot connect back down. Just feel how that low back and that hip bone reconnects, even with the leg still crossed over. And then nice and gently uncrossing the leg, planting that right foot back down. You can extend the legs long, keep the feet planted here. Just see how the body feels. Usually after we hold a pose for a little bit, there's a little rebound that happens. Just rebalancing of blood flow and energy throughout the body. And comes out as like a little tingle sensation or however you notice it. And just take a few rounds of breath. Just noticing the body, checking into that hip. Beautiful. If you have the legs extended long, let's plant those feet back down and get ready to come into the other side. So now my left ankle is going to cross over the right leg, but just like we did on the other side, let's really slow things down and get a little prep work done. Sending that left knee nice and open, pressing it back, trying to look at the sole of that left foot, checking in, maybe give your toes a little wiggle, little wave to you. Really try to press that knee open, feeling into that hip, creating that resistance, really pressing the knee as open as it can. Feel that nice stretch through the hip. Maybe you don't feel anything. Maybe you've got huge range of motion here, as well as some openness through those hip flexors or the muscles in the hip that we're getting into. Keep pressing for one more breath. And then slowly, softly start to relax, bringing that knee more towards that neutral position. Beautiful. So good here. Finding that softness. And then starting to float that right knee up off the ground. Maybe onto the block or the chair, or even if you have the wall kind of close by, you can just kind of plant the foot on the wall. That feels great too. Hold the tops of the knees. Keep those shoulders relaxed. And find some movements. And take those little wiggles from side to side. Start to feel into where those sweet spots might exist. Maybe you hug the knees in a little closer, adding on a little bit of depth. Maybe hold the back of that right thigh, releasing those fingers together. Just finding how you want to be in this pose today. Maybe take some of those pulses forward and back. Just feeling into the hip. But noticing that although this is a very hip pose, what else is going on here? What's going on with the arms and the shoulders? What's going on with the neck and that upper back kind of area? What's going on with the feet? How does the knee feel? And then whenever you're ready, start to find that sweet spot or that little bit of stillness that happens. Focus in on that breath. Come back to those inhales and the exhales. Sending that breath deep into the hip. Trying to really use those exhales to let that tension go. Creating those extra bits of softness. Beautiful. Take a nice big breath in. And a full breath out. And ever so slowly start to plant that right foot back down. Releasing that, feeling how that hip lands. Noticing the low back. And nice and slowly uncrossing the legs. Just imagine moving through honey, not rushing, either planting both feet down, maybe walk the feet a little farther away or extend the legs completely. And taking just a few rounds of breath here. Checking into how those hips feel. How is the body doing? That was a pretty good, nice stretch on either side there. How's that tension doing? Beautiful. Excellent. Big breath in. Big breath out. Bend the knees, plant the feet back down, or walk those feet back towards those sits bones. So good. Feel that low back really nice and connected. We'll take a little moment here. We'll counter some of those curves through the spine. We'll just engage through some of those muscles. So really press that low back down. Feel how you maybe press a little extra into the feet to press the back down. And press those shoulder blades down. Maybe you can walk the shoulders down. Really press in. Feel the scapula, those shoulder blades pressing in. Feel the outer edges of the shoulder press in. Imagine those ribs pressing in. Take a little tuck of the chin. Imagine pressing the back of the neck down. And then press also the tops of the shoulders down. And feel that spine really feeling supported from the ground underneath you. Everything is engaged here. And so then take a big exhale and everything just release. So good. So beautiful. Great way just to kind of reset that spine, get everything back to where it needs to be for the moment. So good. All right, let's press into the soles of the feet. I'm taking that little extra, pressing into the shoulders. But this time, let's start to float those hips up off the ground. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe it's a lot. Pressing up a little higher. Maybe bring your hands to the outer edges of your hips and just imagine pressing those hips up. Just feel the support of those hands either underneath the hips, underneath the glutes, or just along the sides of the hips. Using the arms a lot more than you normally would here, and to take on some of the brunt of that from the hips. Beautiful. Then release and roll on down vertebrae by vertebrae. You can even keep holding kind of the hips as you do so, just to help kind of soften. Beautiful. All right, let's hug that right knee in towards the body. Coming into a nice little half wind reliever. You can just hold the top of the knee. This is a great opportunity for a strap too. You can lasso that foot. That creates some nice feedback, or even just lasso the back of the knee if that's more comfortable to hold on to. Find that little spot where you feel just a bit of a squeeze happening through the outer edge of that crease or that little fold through the right hip. So you can really kind of give that a nice big hug and squeeze in, feel into that spot. And then take an exhale. See if you can relax that spot, relax the shoulders, unclench the jaw. And if you want a little more, you can walk that left foot a little bit farther away from the body. Maybe it extends. What walking the foot does, it creates that pull in the opposite direction. So if you're feeling a sweet spot with that foot planted, it feels good on the hip, and you're fine to leave it down as you walk the foot farther away. You're getting a little more into those inner thighs. Maybe that's not where you want to work today. Keep trying to draw that knee in towards the body, creating that tension through the hip, and then using that breath, that exhale to relax and soften. We'll take about just 3 breaths here. Feeling into that, relaxing the shoulders, holding on with just enough tension to keep that leg in place. So good. And then on your next exhale, start to release that right foot right on back down. Excellent. If the left leg was extended long, have that foot back down. Bring those knees kind of back towards neutral. You can take a little windshield wiper here if that would feel good. Just kind of feeling that release from one side to the next. To take a little rebound or a way to release in between one side to the next when there's the option for that. And start to hug that left knee in towards the body. And give it a nice big squeeze. Find that sweet spot, work with that little bit of tension through that left side of the body. Use that breath. Try to soften and let it go. And if you want, you can extend that right leg. Or keep it as is. Relaxing the shoulders. Relaxing the eyebrows. Connecting with the breath. One more big breath in. Big breath out. And start to plant that left foot back down. If that right leg was extended, bend that knee, plant it down too. Take one last windshield wiper. Maybe mix it up, bringing the feet nice and wide or closer together. Beautiful. And we'll finish up with a little happy baby. So hugging those knees in towards the chest. You can just hug the knees or hold the back of the knees, or you can reach through for the feet. Send those soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, knees in towards the body. However you're holding on, maybe find a little movement, that little rock from side to side, or maybe just enjoy some stillness. This is a great one. Feel that openness through the hips. Start to feel maybe into the hamstrings. You can lengthen the legs here if you want. You can create resistance, pressing or trying to kick those feet up towards the ceiling, but then pulling those legs back into place. Really kind of feel that through the back of the spine. Excellent. And then ask yourself, is there any other pose that you want to take or any other movement you want to explore before we settle into a little Shavasana? So starting to take that movement. Maybe round into tiny ball. Maybe you want a little twist to finish off with. Just a nice little time for some freestyle. It's all about listening to your body. It's one thing I talk about a whole bunch. And this gives you that opportunity to not only listen, but respond to your body. So taking what you need, being bold, having that ultimate expression of some self-love. If your option is more Shavasana, that is a wonderful option too. If you just want to settle in and get a few more moments of that little rest and restoration that happens at the end of class, it's a great option. We end up there anyways. So whenever you're ready to start settling into your Shavasana, go ahead and start to find that final pose. I kind of have no rules for it. Anything that feels really comfy and good. Today I feel like crossing my legs. Maybe you feel like bringing your feet a little bit farther apart on the mat. Thinking of maybe being like a starfish, maybe just create more space. Start to feel that breath circling through the body. In through the nose, out through the mouth. But noticing its journey down through that torso. Breathing deep into the diaphragm, taking those nice big breaths in, and those breaths out. Letting the body soften and relax with each breath you take. Letting that breath be the anchor for the mind, just the thing that you focus in on. And if you need a little bit of a deeper task, maybe you scan throughout the body and checking in with how you feel after we've taken some movement, checking in with the hips, the legs, all the way down, the knees, the toes, the ankles, the soles of the feet. How does it all feel? And checking in with each one of the vertebrae. Maybe you work right from the tailbone and work your way up one by one. Feeling where that rib cage would connect in. Shoulders are all the way up to the neck and the crown of the head. And checking in with those shoulders and the arms, the elbows, the wrists, and each one of the fingers. Coming back up to the face, checking in with the jaw, relaxing the tongue. Relaxing the forehead and the eyebrows and that little space between the eyebrows. Relaxing the eyes as well. Relaxing the cheeks. And just finding softness throughout the body. And coming back to that breath. Using those exhales to really let go of any of that tension you might have noticed you were still holding on to. Big breath in. And a big breath out. Remember that intention that you set at the beginning of class. Just drawing it to mind and memory. If it no longer serves you, let it go. You don't have to hold on to it forever. Take that little Marie Kondo way of doing things and just take it and release it. Maybe think of a new intention that better serves the hours to come. And let's start to find some movements. So to wake the body up, coming back into the physical. Little wiggles and squeezes. Letting those movements become a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Maybe give yourself a nice big hug. And roll onto your side, taking that little fetal position. And then start to make your way up towards seated. And coming to a comfortable seat that works good for you. And let's find a little length through the spine. Finish class by taking a nice big cleansing breath that exhales out nice and audibly, letting go of anything else you no longer need that's maybe in the body. So getting ready, big breath in and big breath out, side out. Take an inhale, get nice and tall. On that exhale, release the shoulders back and down. Take a breath in, float those hands up to heart center. And exhale, take a little bow. And thinking of something you can be grateful for here. May the rest of your day be filled with joy. And may you always be blessed. Namaste. Beautiful. Hope you enjoyed that happiness class. Please let me know any feedback, questions, or things you liked or variations you tried. It's always fun. I will stop the recording and hang out with the people in my Zoom class. So you have yourself a beautiful day.